And we're back in studio here. We just had the hockey team in just to talk about their tournament that's upcoming. But joining me now, Senior Solomon King, who, your tournament has already kind of started last weekend in terms of the District 4 tournament. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, welcome. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. You're wrapping up your senior year, quite a storied success in terms of your running career. What I'd like to do is maybe kind of take us back a little bit, and what drew you to the sport initially of indoor track and running?
Well, I mean, I've always liked running, and I've just I guess when we play games with friends, whatever, I'm always running. They're like, "Why don't you do track?" And I'm like, "That's a lot of work." And so it took me at least till sophomore year where I'm let me stop being lazy, do track and field, and I just been with it ever since.
Now, you and I were talking before we came on air. There's long distance. We look at someone like Olivia Baudet, who just will run for miles and miles and miles, and then there's the sprints and there's the in between. You're more of a sprint, a short distance. So once you get interested in track, what then kind of draws you to the sprint distances versus, say, medium or long distance stuff?
Well, I definitely say it's genetic. Some people are just like Olivia; she's just good at distance, longer distance. And some of it is just what you enjoy. Because for me, that longer distance, that gets kind of boring. Yeah. Just running around over and over the same track. But personally, at least for me, I I don't know, passing people. Passing people is gives you almost a rush.
Right.
And that's sticks me to the relays or the short distance stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do kind of both. You do the 55 meter, 300 meter, which is an individual straight-out sprint, as it were. But then, as you mentioned, you also are a member of the 4x400 relay team. So let's kind of maybe break those down. In terms of individual, the 55 and the 300, what is a typical training? How do you train for short burst sprint type work like that?
Well, especially the shorter distance, it's really important you get a good start. Mm-hmm. I'd say a friend of mine, Anthony, his start is better than mine. And so for the first maybe 10, 15 meters, he will be ahead of me. But since it's so short, it's kind of hard to get to your top speed and let that carry you. So the longer the distance, the more chance you have of being at that top speed and letting that carry you. But for the longer distances, it's more pacing yourself. Yeah. Most people can't just run all out the whole time. You gotta pace yourself, or a float, is they like to call it, where you're not at 100% speed, you're maybe 80, 90% speed.
Right,
so, yeah.
Right. And then you probably carry some of that over into the 4x400, but now you're part of a team. Mm-hmm. So what kind of changes do you have to undergo as it pertains to maybe practices or technique when you now incorporate 3 other guys for the race?
Mm-hmm. It's hard to find, I guess, 4 people that run the same time, because you don't want to have it so you have a really slow guy and a really fast guy, because it puts a lot of pressure on him. Yeah. So it's really important that we all almost depend on each other. We're say one of our members out of practice, hey, where were you at? Because if one person's not there, it's hard to fill the gap with just some random person. So we build that chemistry with each other. Yeah.
And I know little about the sport, but I understand on a 4x400, for example, everyone runs a leg. You have anchor in the first. I guess that's first. Where do you fall on that? In that line of the 4 guys? So
I'm the third leg.
Okay.
Because our coach, he has a different philosophy, whereas usually people put their fastest guy last. Mm-hmm. But like I said before, that puts a lot of pressure on the fastest guy. So what he likes to do is to put the fastest guy third, which is me, and to give a lead for the last guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of alleviate some of that pressure then on the last guy.
Yeah, it makes it an easier race for all of us.
Gotcha. What do you find in terms of the team aspect of the 4x400? What's kind of the hardest part in terms of developing that chemistry? Because it's got to be probably critical to get 4 guys working as one. What's the hardest part about getting that particular chemistry?
Well, it's just a tough race. Just trying to finish the race, because once you hit that that last 50, it's really tough. Yeah. And just cheering on your teammates, letting them know that you're not really running it alone, even though you are. But right. That's the hardest part right there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there certainly has been success, and the guys were just in here to talk about their upcoming tournament. But as I mentioned, you kind of started the District 4 tournaments just this past weekend. You went out to the Reggie Lewis Center, and needless to say, you had a pretty decent day. Mm-hmm. You did all right, Take us through it. So you ran. Were you part of those 3 events then?
Yeah.
Okay. So as I understand, one of your events is the 55-meter dash,
Yes.
right? And in that, you placed in District 4 in what place?
Third.
Third place.
Yeah.
All right. So out of how many runners is, you know?
I believe it's out of, I don't get it wrong, but I think it's 32. I
32.
think out of 32 people
Wow.
that qualified. Yeah.
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 All right. So you have to qualify to get to the D4
Yes.
tournament.
Mhm.
You get there, and then out of the 33 other male runners, you wound up the top 3.
Mhm.
At what point did you know that you were in the top 3? Did you have to wait to the very end, or when did you kind of have a feeling?
So when because I was like one of the first like groups that are running. So when I run the race, it tells you the time like right after. And so I sat there waiting, comparing my time to the other people's time. And so I had like a pretty rough estimate
Yeah.
about like if I'd be moving on or not.
Right.
Yeah.
So that had to be a great feeling. You know,
Yeah.
you get that 3rd place under your belt, and then, well, now you still got to run another one. You got the 4x400. So you and your teammates, and you might as well give them a shout out. You know, so who are the other 3 guys that comprise our team?
We have Mikhaili Puckeren, he was second, Paul Forrest, and then we have Kenny Obi. Yeah.
Okay.
He's our anchor leg, yeah.
Gotcha. And by anchor, that's for those at home. That's the 4th guy, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. So, how many 4x400 teams are here at the D4?
I think it's a little bit less, but I think it's 24 teams that
Okay.
like filled up, yeah.
And our 4x400 team did fairly well there as well. We came in second place. So, kind of with the 55. At what point did you know, and your teammates know, that your time was good and that you were kind of, you know, in the top 2?
Because we were running it, and I think, so I remember Paul got us maybe like 3rd or 4th. I think Mikhaili brought us like a really close 3rd, and I was like, I think I could catch this guy. So I stayed right behind the 1st place guy all the way up to the end, and I gave it to Kenny, and I'm like, yeah, we got 2nd place.
Oh, that's
because the other
great.
guy was like flying.
Yeah. And then, not to be outdone with a 3rd place finish, a 2nd place finish, you then have your 300-meter dash, which, as you talk, I mean, that's a lot of sprinting, as it were, right?
Yeah.
That's where you got to kind of find that groove and whatnot. And how many other D4 300-meter runners are there?
I think that's also like 32.
32.
Yeah.
And just for sake of, you know, letting people know, what place did you wind up there? Out of 300?
I got 1st place in that. Yeah.
So you are here in Norwood. You are the D4 state champion in the 300-meter distance, right? That's awesome, fantastic. Congratulations! I you know, for someone who has trouble walking 300 meters, let alone running it, it's quite an accomplishment. What's that feeling like? I mean, when did you know you were the best at D4 in the state?
I really didn't know until it was over, because so how they split it up is they have it go from slowest to fastest, right, in like these groups we call heats. And so I was in the 2nd to last one, and I ran my race because I was like, I'm probably not even gonna be in the top 3. I'm like, let me just go for a medal, like top like 8 medal. So I win my heat with a pretty fast time, and I'm like, okay. So then I look back, and because in this heat, there's like the guy that beat me in the 55. He's there. I'm like, oh, he's gonna be placed higher than me. This kid from Ashland, who's like beat me all season, he's gonna beat me. And like for some reason, the number 3 kid in the U.S. was there. Don't know why. But he's there, and I'm like, okay, all 3 of these guys are gonna beat me. But in the race, the number 3 guy, he fell, and he took out the other 2 people that were going to beat me. And so I saw at the end that the runner-up guy got a horrible time, and so I was 1st. And they were like arguing to try to like rerun the race, but I took the 1st and ran home. So.
There you go. State champ. Good for you. Congratulations. Now, as a result of that, now you're heading off this weekend for the big show, the States, right? And in all 3 events.
Yeah.
Right? Real quick then, is there any sort of prep difference between what you've been doing to get ready for the regular season and your regular meets? Do you change anything up for the States, the finals?
I mean, not really, because I feel like if you treat it as like what it is, I feel like the nerves are gonna get to you. If you just treat it like another meet, I feel like you do just fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, listen, you know, first of all, congratulations on everything you've accomplished thus
Thank
far.
you.
I mean, just absolutely fantastic. And then to head off to States along with your teammates there from the 4x400 is just, you know, a terrific accomplishment in and of itself. But we want to wish you, you know, the best of luck. Real quick, senior, plans to continue on the running after you
I
leave
hope
the
so.
hill?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely in college. I definitely want to run in college.
Good for you. Yeah, we were talking beforehand. We've had some success. Some guys down at Virginia Tech running. Forrest, matter of fact, Patrick Forrest. You know, so we've got a lot of runners in this town. You guys are really doing a great job.